What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. We are back. We are live. It's a good day to talk some Bears football. A lot going on in the NFL. We got Cullen back on the ones and the twos. He's hanging out with us after we did a switcheroo week company-wide. So get the Cullen chants going in the chat. Let us know where you're watching. And Cullen, it's funny because when I first got in this morning, I was like, golly, I kind of thought we'd get some kind of NFL news, some kind of news dump this morning. And then at about 11 o'clock, boom, Dexter Lawrence requested trade. So we did get hit with that. But less than 3 weeks from the draft, we get that news bomb. We get a Bears Stadium update from Schefter. I got some stuff to talk about today.
That we do. And we're going to be discussing what it would potentially cost to trade for Dexter Lawrence, who did request a trade from the New York Football Giants. And if you're the Chicago Bears, I did make this the live poll, so feel free to, let us know where you're tuning in from. We'll give shout-outs here in a minute. We can get right into this. Should the Bears trade for Dexter Lawrence? I mean, he is still an impactful player. We were talking about it right before we went live, Harry, that he didn't have the greatest in terms of statistical seasons last year, but he is still a guy that, in terms of an interior pass rusher, run-stuffing, just presence, I mean, he's certainly, top 5 in the league? I mean, he is just...
Well, and he's a unique guy that he's built more like a nose tackle, but he's a really good pass rusher at his size. Yeah. I mean, he's 6'4.5", 342 pounds, almost 35-inch arms. He's really athletic for his size, and he can really get after the quarterback. I mean, if you go – I'll just pull up his PFF, pressures by year. I mean, it's really impressive. So – yeah, I mean, I think the question is was last year just a slightly down year, or is that more of the direction he's heading? I think he'll bounce back. I do wonder with a guy like that too. They had just been trending so south as a team the last few years. Eventually, the frustration just boils over, and it's human nature to not maybe play as well as you have in previous years. So, even last year, he still had 34 pressures, 36 the year before. The 2 years prior, 65 and 70. And he's always been dominant against the run. So, yeah, I mean, the question is the value. We're going to dive into that here today, obviously. What's it going to cost? But, yeah, I mean, even if he's not his peak self anymore, which I don't think it's fair to say that he is or isn't moving forward, he'd still be the best you have by a pretty wide margin, I would say. So, yeah, if the price is right, I would be interested in trading for Dexter Lawrence.
No doubt about it. Now, he isn't the typical, build of a defensive tackle that Dennis Allen likes. 340 pounds, not somebody on the lighter side like DA normally likes.
He's also a physical outlier, so, I don't think the Bears would, I think if Dennis Allen, if Ryan Poles brought Dennis Allen in and was like, hey, we can get Dexter Lawrence, I think DA would be like, yes, let's bring him in here. But, yeah, I mean, he doesn't fit the mold of, lighter, quicker defensive tackles. But for his size, he is very quick and explosive. So, yeah, I would think that he could make that work. If you can't make Dexter Lawrence work, that's a you problem. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Giants will even consider trading him. Is this just a contract leverage play by Lawrence? Who knows? We'll dive into the latest news on it. I'll give my thoughts in terms of if the Bears can make a move. Have a few trade ideas cooked up as well, so we will get into it all. But get yourself a Bear Claw Selly shirt right now, chatsports.com/LB10. Just choking the life out of the Packers during the regular season. You guys remember the moment. Pick it up today, chatsports.com/LB10. Link is in the live chat for you guys. We got the T-shirts available in black and navy. A lot of you guys have jumped on board with these new shirts, so appreciate the support.
Which, by the way, I didn't get to see this when this initially dropped because obviously I wasn't here last week. This black shirt with the orange, I mean, talk about what makes it pop.
Yeah, I think the black one really pops. The navy's still good, and it's obviously more Bear-centric, but I think the black shirt's the way to go. I'm probably going to get one. I'll be getting the black shirt. So, yeah, the little splatter design there by my guy Arnold, who handles the merch design. So, really good stuff. chatsports.com/LB10. Click and shop today. Get yourself a T-shirt. Okay, Alex Amerling, I would strongly consider 25 for Dexter if we could figure out the contract stuff. Yeah, and that's part of this. The report is that he wants a raise and that he and the Giants haven't been able to work that out, so he's requested a trade. He's currently making around $20 million. He would probably, I would guess, want at least a raise to 25, if not more. So, yeah, I mean, that's something that factors in. The Bears right now literally have like $200,000 in cap space. Now, we've talked about this before. They can create a lot of cap room pretty easily, but they would obviously have to do that and then probably work out an extension, which could actually lower the cap hit in the short term. So that part of it would actually potentially be appealing from a Bears standpoint. And if you're going to make a big trade, I don't think you're not going to commit to Lawrence for the next several years. Like, I think you'd be committing to him. So, yeah, I mean, that's part of the equation here is you have to figure out the contract part of it. But, yeah, if you can get to a number that you think is reasonable and you don't think you're giving up too many assets to get Dexter Lawrence, then I would understand if the Bears, made a move to do so.
Yeah, and look, it's going to be an obvious question where, okay, one, do you make the trade for Dexter Lawrence? If the price is right, I think the Bears will be interested. And bare minimum, I do expect Ryan Poles to at least make a call saying, hey, what would it take to get Dexter Lawrence into Chicago? And that second part is really the interesting part to me, Harry, because, we've kind of highlighted it. You talked about it on 4Vert, your other YouTube channel. Make sure to check that out if you guys haven't already. The contract part of this is really where the root of this trade request comes from. And if you're the Bears, right, obviously you're going to be more cap flexible after this next year whenever you can get off of guys such as Grady Jarrett, potentially Dio Dangbo, this, that, or the other. What kind of contract would you be willing to give Dexter Lawrence if the trade would be made?
I've seen tweets out there saying that it's going to start with 30-something million per year. That feels like a lot. Chris Jones, I think, makes 32 a year, but he's an outlier among defensive tackles. I don't know. Spotrac, and we'll get into it further, their model says 3 for 82, so that's like 27 a year. That feels about right, somewhere between 25 and 30. Maybe you give them 3 for, let's call it 3 for 85 with like 60 guaranteed or something like that. I mean, is that doable? Like, is that something that makes sense? I mean, that's basically DJ Moore is making $27 million per year, so you could almost look at it from a contractual roster construction standpoint. Moving forward, you're using that money to pay Dexter Lawrence. Would we have, from a roster need standpoint, would we have taken that swap? Yes. Now, obviously, you got a second and sent a fifth to move off of DJ Moore. It's going to cost you more to get Dexter Lawrence. So obviously the assets going in and out factors into that financial equation. We all understand that. But, I think somewhere between 25 and 30 per year is where I'd like to land. If he wants to reset the market and top Chris Jones, who's an outlier on his contract, I don't know. I mean, mostly it's going to come down to guarantees. That's what it always comes down to. So, I guess if it was like 3 for 96, 32 a year, but only, 2 of the 3 years are guaranteed, I guess I could live with it. But, I don't know if I'm giving him 35 a year. I've seen that thrown out. That feels high. So we'll see. If you go higher, you got 2 years left on the current contract. You could space out the years that way. You could rip up the contract and just do a new contract. So it'd be interesting to see whoever gets him, if they trade him, how they do that. But you're going to have to pay more than what he's making now. I think that's why he's requested a trade. So,
no doubt about it. All right, we've got another one coming in from Bear Down for Life saying, quote, I would wait until after the draft to trade for Dexter Lawrence. Cullen, I hope you're not dealing with any side effects from last week. WB, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from a Giants perspective, though, like if I'm the Giants, if I'm going to trade Lawrence, I probably want to do it before the draft. Like I want to get, even if some of the trade includes a pick next year or something like that, I probably want something this year. They're picking at 537 and then not again until 105. I probably want to pick in the first couple of rounds of this draft. So I think I would be moving quickly if I was New York, if I'm going to pivot off Lawrence. Now, I'm sure the preference is to keep him, all that stuff, and maybe they work out a contract, and, this is just a Myles Garrett situation where ultimately he'll take a big deal and stay. But, if I'm the Giants, even if I'm projecting next year's draft to be better, I'm trying to be competitive this year. It's year 2 of Jackson Dart. You're trying to maximize that rookie quarterback contract window. Maybe you take a day 2 pick this year and a first next year, but I still want something this year if I'm New York. Don't you? I'd be looking to pounce if I'm trading them. I'm trading them in the next 2.5 weeks if I'm the Giants.
Which could ramp, things up very quickly. What kind of value do you potentially get this close to the NFL draft? I will say this, that if you're the Bears too, I kind of do want to trade before the draft, just from the aspect of it really does affect your draft strategy, right? Because if you're going to, A, trade for him, B, sign him to that extension, C, you also kind of take care of a big need on your roster, which is getting that kind of stud in the middle that you could pair alongside Montez Sweat on the defensive line. And if the Bears, ultimately say, hey, look, we think the price is too rich, we're not going to go in that direction, you'd rather know that sooner rather than later, because, you don't want to, invest high draft capital. Say they like Peter Woods, for example.
Yeah.
That would ultimately, if they trade for Dexter Lawrence, that might, I think, in safety, would change things in terms of who they could potentially go after. So, if I'm the Bears, I'm looking to try to hit this early in terms of, will we make this happen, and go from there.
Yeah, and I think most teams would probably fall into that bucket. There might be a few teams that would prefer, the Eagles are a bad example in this case because that would be a divisional trade, but they would maybe be the exception of hey, let's visit this in the summer because we can dump A.J. Brown, all that stuff from a financial standpoint. But, it impacts a lot. So, to me, if I'm the Bears, I think the chances go down significantly that you would trade him after the draft, just because. And I'm also in the camp from a Bears standpoint. It's I also believe the draft next year is going to be really good. So, I'm cool trading a pick next year to get Lawrence. I don't really want to trade 2 next year to get him, though. And if you trade it for him after this draft, you're probably trading 2 picks in the next draft to get him. And I don't know if I want to do that. If I have to trade 2 picks, let's do 1 this year, 1 next year. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. Wasim says, FGB, bear down, happy Easter, everybody. Yes to Dexter. Appreciate you, Wasim. Shout out to Wasim.
Spam those bear downs, those FGBs, and a happy Easter to you as well, Wasim, and to everyone else who celebrates. Yeah, it was a well-needed 3-day weekend for us here.
The 3-day weekend is always a blessing and a curse because when you do come back, you still do you're mentally recharged, I feel like, but you're still just okay, I got to get back into the swing of it now. But no, it was
especially for us when we were with different hosts and producers last week.
Yeah, it was a different week last week. So
and
then one day, you guys don't even know this, the building fire alarm went off and we had to leave the building.
If you were for whatever reason tuned into Ravens Live on our Chat Sports channel, on our Ravens channel, excuse me. Yeah, literally as we're in the middle of live, it goes off. It's unbelievable.
How long did y'all wait before y'all were just well, we're just...
Not long. I would say no more than 5 minutes. It was just kind of one of those things, we heard it, we were kind of okay, I'm going to step outside for a second, looked, we realized kind of what was going on, we just signed off. But it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. I know we're still going to get into the content here, but let us know, speaking of that, I don't know why this just randomly popped in my head, who you guys got in the national championship game tonight?
Yeah, no Illinois, unfortunately. I know there's probably some Michigan fans in here, though. Some M for Michigan, U for UConn. Let us know. If Illinois was in it, we were going to stay live for the game, but not going to do so tonight. We'll see if the Wolverines can get it done. They've been the most dominant team throughout this tournament, but you can't ever count out Dan Hurley and UConn, so we'll see. We'll see.
That it was.
I like the Wolverines, but there's just this small part of me of man, Dan Hurley is a 7-point dog. You're just gonna doubt that guy.
Never doubt
he's psychotic, but he's a hell of a coach.
Never doubt the heart of a champion or just Dan Hurley. It's just It's going to be, I think, a really good game. The line has bounced 6.5, 7.5, so around 7 points potentially for tonight. Michigan has been the most complete team in all of college basketball from the beginning of the season to the end. It'll be interesting, man. It really will.
I'm thinking two ways. One, Michigan wins and covers, or UConn wins tight. Like, they muck this game up. They keep it in the 60s.
Yep.
And they get to the under 4 minutes in the second half in a tight game, and they find a way to just make a couple of clutch plays. Like, that, to me, that's their path. If this gets into, like, a game in the high 70s or 80s, I don't like UConn's chances. I think they have to muddy this thing up, slow it down, and hope Michigan has an off shooting night and then just make some plays. And, look, they've – I'm not one to doubt UConn, so I like Michigan to win and to probably cover, but it would not shock me at all if it's 61-57 with 3:02 left, and it's up for grabs. So excited to watch it. Should be a good one. Jose, Bulls fired AK. Yeah, they fired their top two guys. I tweeted about it. If Bears fired Poles, who would be your replacement? Well, they're not firing Poles. Who is a player you would replace and with who? Me, it's Dio and anybody. There's a lot going on here. Yeah, I mean, ideally you could get off Dio's contract, but that's not going to happen this year. He'll be on next year, though, unless he has a really good year. Yeah, I mean, if you could dump Dio and just get an elite pass rusher, that would be great, but probably not going to happen, unfortunately.
But just remember, right, if you're going to hire a replacement GM, make sure you hire a new position ahead of GM so that if you take somebody from another organization, you can just slide them in.
I'll hire Jay Cutler to be my president of football, and then I'll just nab the best GM candidate available so they don't get picks. So, yeah, that's exactly. What a joke. Alex Ammerling, I hope it's a better game than Michigan-Arizona. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I know Illinois-UConn was a decent game, but kind of an underwhelming Final Four so far.
A little bit.
Kind of a dud. I thought Michigan-Arizona was going to be fireworks. Like, I kind of dubbed that like the Rams-Seahawks NFC Championship game. Like, this feels like the national title game, and that was varsity JV. Now, I think if Michigan and Arizona played 10 times, Arizona would win a couple times. Like, I think that was kind of an outlier game, but that was bad, man. So, yeah, just give me a good game. Give me a 5-point game with 5 minutes to go, and let's go. That's what I'm hoping for. Unless I put some money on Michigan to cover, which I might. So, we'll see. Wasim again, Michigan for the Big Ten, and happy that Duke lost. Yeah, as good as John Shires got it rolling there, he's had some brutal losses in the tournament. So,
I don't love the fact because he seems like obviously a really intelligent basketball coach. He's obviously coaching Duke. I didn't love the fact that he admitted, what was it, the first game of the tournament? He said he got out-coached or out-prepared or whatever the term was. I need to see some more killer instinct if you're going to be the Duke head coach.
Yeah, I mean, you're farting around with Sienna. Like, I don't know. It's like you've had
that game against UConn. I mean, credit to Hurley and the crew, but Duke should have probably held on to that one.
Oh, my God. To lose that game's a joke. I mean, it's a hell of a win for UConn, but, like, Duke is much more talented.
No doubt.
So, yeah, and then the Houston one last year was maybe the most egregious to lose that game. They were up 6 with a minute left and lost in regulation. It'd be one thing if you lost in overtime. All right, hit that like button. Let's get this show popping. We, of course, will continue to answer your questions when we get to our mailbag portion, which will be in about 15 minutes or so. So continue to fire in those questions. But here's what we got coming up live on the show as we are 2.5 weeks away from the NFL draft, which, by the way, I was thinking about that. Doesn't it feel like we just did the draft? Not like just did the draft, but it doesn't feel like a year.
It doesn't feel like a year. The Bears, they're in kind of unfamiliar territory picking this slate. No offense, no shots taken.
No,
but
it's facts.
No, I mean, it's just maybe it's just a different feel from the year. Kind of is just throwing us for a loop for a little bit.
Yeah. I will say on the flip side, it does feel like forever ago that the Bears were still playing. Like, that feels like a long time.
Yes.
So, I don't know. I'm just saying stuff. Okay, here's what we got coming up. Adam Schefter had a stadium update on the Bears. feels like a resolution could be coming soon. We'll dive into that. We'll take your questions, #Bears or Super Chat, trade ideas, draft, current roster, whatever you got, fire at us. #Bears or Super Chat. And then, yes, we will talk a little Dexter Lawrence. That is the NFL news of the day. Could the Bears get in on a potential trade? We will discuss. Let's get into it all here on Chicago Bears Now. Is the Bears' years-long stadium saga finally almost over? ESPN's Adam Schefter had a report that suggests that very well could be. We're going to talk about it here on Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. For the love of you-know-what, if you are ready for this situation to end one way or the other, hit that like button. I know everyone's got an opinion on where the stadium is, and you should, like especially for you long-time Chicagoans, but don't you just want this to end at this point? Like one way or the other, that's what I want. So hit that like button if you're ready for a resolution. This is Chicago Bears Now, ESPN's Adam Schefter, and I do think it's interesting that Schefter had the report suggest that a Bears stadium decision should be coming soon, will be coming soon. I think the language in these reports is always important. Let's go ahead and read exactly what he tweeted. He said the Chicago Bears will decide where to build their new stadium in the next few weeks, per league sources. If Illinois doesn't pass legislation for Arlington Heights soon, sources believe the Bears are likely to be Indiana bound. 2 proposed sites in Chicago are not considered feasible per sources, next to Soldier Field for political reasons, and the land known as the Michael Reese site was evaluated and rejected by the NFL and the Bears. And so the question you have is, okay, now Schefter's reporting on it. Like the local people have had it, like the local non-sports people have even had it. And now the biggest insider in the NFL is in on it. Is this finally almost over? Or is this like the biggest bluff yet? Like are the Bears trying to play one final bluff? Hey, let's feed this to Schefter. That is the question. I think it's more likely that we're actually finally toward a resolution. To me, this translates as this feels like a public push from the Bears to say, hey, Illinois, last chance. Like this next legislation period, which I think is between now and the end of May, so a few weeks might be a little underselling it, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. That could fall into a few, I suppose. I mean, we've waited 5 fucking years. What's 8 more weeks? But to me, this is like, hey, like if another legislative period comes and goes, we're not. We're out. Like, we expected this to pass in Illinois last year, and we're a year later. Like, if I'm the Bears, I'm pretty freaking pissed. And if you listen to George and Kevin at the owners' meetings, it's pretty obvious they're pissed. They're fed up. They're tired of it. They're tired of the back and forth. They're tired of the waiting. Yeah, they want to stay in Illinois. It's, this is a charter franchise. They don't want to cross state lines. George is, he's a prideful guy, and, he's George House is, blood is flowing through his body. But, like, at some point, you're running a business, and you're just sick of this, and you're losing money by the day the longer you wait. And so I do think that's the likely scenario. Now, there's a small, tiny part of me seeing how this is played out. Is like, is this their biggest bluff yet? Hey, let's have Schefter put it out to the world. That'll wake Illinois up. But we're not really going to Indiana. We're just going to have Schefter put that out there. I don't think that's the case. I think they're serious about Indiana. I think the preference is still Illinois. If it wasn't, they would just go, right? I mean, if they didn't care, if they wanted the better financial deal, they'd be gone. Like, Indiana is ready to play ball today. They have cleared the site from a environmental standpoint. Indiana is past what they needed to in the legislature. Like, they're ready to go. So I think that the Bears are willing to go there at this point. I still think they want to stay on Illinois, but I think the bluffs, I think they're out of bluffs. Like, you can only bluff 10 deuce so many times before you're like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to hit this flush with 10-2 suited, and I'm going to leave. Like, that's kind of what I think is happening here is, like, Final message, Illinois. You do it or you don't, and if you don't, we're just going to bounce because this has been a years-long process. We bought the property 5 years ago, and we still don't have the tax certainty. We still don't have X, Y, and Z. And, we're all entitled to opinions about, billionaire owners, all this stuff. Like, I understand all that, but the reality is the Bears are sick of this, and they should be. And they're going to make a decision soon, I believe. I don't think we get into 2027 and there's still not a decision. I think, to be frank, I don't think we get to training camp and there hasn't been a decision. Doesn't mean a shovel will be in the ground by then, but I think there will be an announcement before the first day of training camp. I'm planting my flag that the Bears have made a decision. I don't know which site it's going to be, but I do think the Bears are going to make a decision in the next couple months. Okay, get yourself a Bear Claw Selly shirt. Our guy LB10 choking the life out of the Packers this season. Chatsports.com/LB10. These T-shirts are awesome. I personally think, listen, the Navy ones look great, but the black ones, look at the colors just popping. It's absolutely fantastic. You got the bear claw hand there for our guy LB. Chatsports.com/LB10. Get your shirt today. Link is in the comments and in the description of this video. Now, one thing that is officially official, I think fair to say, based on this report, and we've kind of known this, is that they are leaving the city. The lakefront is not an option. The Michael Reese site does not appear to be an option. This third paragraph chunk from Schefter's tweet earlier, the NFL and the Bears rejected that Michael Reese site. So they are leaving Chicago. And look, even though we've kind of known this all along, that they were not going to figure it out in the city, it is sad, man. Like, the lakefront is an awesome spot. It really is. It's beautiful out there. People are walking. Soldier Field was rocking in the playoffs this year. It's a shame. It really, really is. But the question now is where do you end up? Do you stay in the state and go to Arlington Heights, or do you cross state borders and do, dare I say, the unthinkable? Like, if you told someone a year ago that the Bears could go to Indiana, that seems unfathomable, but it does feel like a coin flip. And if anything, that Indiana has the advantage because Illinois legislators won't get their act together when it comes to this situation. So let's get to the pros of each option. Arlington Heights pros. Well, the obvious one is you bought the property and it's over 300 acres and you own it all. Like, sure, you're going to need some public help for the stadium, but eventually you're going to own that, and you're going to own everything around it. You could dive into more business ventures if you are the McCaskey family and minority owners and get restaurants and hotels. You could build your own Bearstopia, if you will, out there. Like, to me, that's pretty appealing. Like, that's a pretty cool thought. In Indiana, I don't know how much you can build that area up. I don't think you're going to be able to have 300 acres worth of space to do all of that. I'm sure they'll add some stuff, hotels, restaurants, and whatever, but it's not going to be 300 acres worth of property. That seems pretty obvious. And the last one, I do think it matters, is you get a PR win for staying in Illinois. I think the majority of your fans would prefer that. I think George McCaskey, does he want his legacy to be moving the Bears to Indiana? I do think at this point he's fed up. He'll just do whatever makes the most sense at this point, which is why we're at the rubber meets the road moment. But I do think the ultimate win is if they can find a way to make it work in Arlington Heights. Now, we'll take a look at Northwest Indiana in a second, but subscribe to the channel. When this officially gets announced, whenever it is, I promise you, we will be discussing it here on the show. We're discussing daily Bears news around the actual team, rumors, trade buzz, draft content. We got it all covered, so subscribe and turn on those notifications. So Northwest Indiana. Well, the main one is it's a more financially friendly deal. Even if Illinois ends up playing ball here, the Indiana deal will be a better financial offer on paper. Now, I think the Bears are willing to sacrifice some of that to stay in Illinois and to build on the property they purchased. But the bottom line is Indiana can give you a better financial offer. So that is obviously significant. These are businesses at the end of the day, these football teams. Number two, they've been a lot easier to work with. The state has. They got on board quickly. They passed legislation they needed to. They are begging the Bears to come, whereas Illinois is kind of like, yeah, we like the Bears, but like this stadium thing, we don't really care. And it's like, well, you may not want to care, but if you want the Bears to stay, you better, because otherwise they're not going to. Like, that's just kind of where we're at. And uniquely enough, it's actually closer proximity to the city of Chicago. Now, I've mentioned all those points of, like, I think the messaging of staying in Illinois matters. Like, I think that stuff is important. But for neutral fans of the Bears who don't really care, it's like, well, Hammond is closer. I don't care. My commute's shorter. Like, I do think there's a portion of people who are like, well, it's actually easier. The practice facility situation part of it is interesting. Lake Forest to Hammond isn't, a layup drive, but, that's kind of a different situation you have to deal with. Look, the bottom line is I do think Arlington Heights is the more ideal option for a lot of reasons, but I don't think it's so egregious at this point that you should continue to let Illinois just drag their feet. I don't blame the Bears here. If another legislative period goes by and they don't bring this to a vote and they don't pass what they need to give the Bears the tax certainty stuff and what they need, I'd probably just go, man. Like, if I was the Bears, like, I would just go. Like, I got to get this project off the ground. If I'm Kevin Warren, I've been on the job for like 4 years, man. You got to get this going. Like, it's time. So, in terms of where you're asking me, and I'll ask you guys, where will the stadium be? I want to say Arlington Heights, but I wouldn't be saying it with any confidence. I would not put money on it. I really wouldn't. I would not put money on it. I think this thing could go either way, and I do think that the Indiana thing is real. I don't think it's a bluff. I think the Bears are tired of this, and I think they're going to make a decision after the next Illinois legislative period. If they pass what they need to, I think 100% they're staying in Arlington Heights. If they don't, I think it's 95% they go to Indiana, with that small 5% of maybe it was one final big bluff, but I don't think that's very likely. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Chicago Bears Now. If you're watching live, stick with us. We got more to come, but we will continue to pump out content here on a daily basis. Hit that subscribe button and bear down. All right.
Let us know if you had to predict A for Arlington Heights, I for Northwest Indiana.
More Arlington Heights guesses, but Indiana location looks like a dump area, though. Yeah, it does not look visibly pleasing. Now, I would imagine it's going to look a lot better by the time they get a stadium built and they build some stuff around it. But, yeah, I mean, I think you could – the whole area of where the new stadium would be, I think, would be more visibly appealing if they figured it out in Arlington Heights. Eric, they are not staying in Soldier Field long term. That I can promise you. Barring some last-minute Hail Mary, I don't think that's happening.
Schefter says, I'm writing my grad paper. Have you in the background. Can you guys say something funny? Also, hi, Cullen.
What is something that would be funny? The Packers blew a 21-3 lead to the Bears in the playoffs. Take the L, Green Bay. Ba-da-ching.
Boom. All right. Use hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get on the show. Y'all know the drill. You Super Chat, you automatically get included in the mailbag. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And again, feel free to ask my guy Harry about anything. I know how much he loves talking about the stadium, so we're always taking stadium questions.
I just love it, man. Just feed me the stadium talk.
Or if you just want to talk draft rumors, draft targets, maybe some free agency players that the Bears could potentially sign, whatever questions around the Chicago Bears that you think my guy would have an answer for, which has got a lot of answers, let me tell you. Feel free to ask using hashtag Bears down below.
Alex says with the Super Chat, Hingle McCringleberry at 25. He's on my big board.
He is. Some would say he's a sleeper.
He is a day 3 sleeper.
We'll get that up here in a second. Which, by the way, we're back.
What?
I'm saying I'm back.
You're back.
Which means...
Oh, Draft Crush. That's right. We took a week off.
Did?
He's had a week to prepare, guys. Actually, I guess like 10 days.
It's been a while.
Better deliver. This better be a good one.
Well,
we doing it after the Q&A?
We can do it. I'll let you guys pick down below. We can either do it before or after, because we do need more hashtag Bears questions, so fire those in down below. I'll let the chat decide. We can either do it before or afterwards.
Let me know.
Isaiah will include that in the mailbag, but thank you. I'll let the chat decide. I can wait, but just a heads up, we're doing 2, by the way.
That's pretty split. Some saying before, some saying after.
We can get into the content. If
split, we're doing 2 today.
2.
Okay, let's do. How about this? How about 1 now and 1 after the Q&A?
Y'all want to do that?
Yeah, let's do 1 now, 1 after the Q&A.
Y'all want. Again, just keep firing in those hashtag Bears questions because we are about to get into the mailbag.
We could save Isaiah for the mailbag.
Yeah. All right. Well, so before I took a little rendezvous from Bears Now, I asked what position because we made the deal. I was like, all right, since I'm not going to be there this past week, I was going to do 2. I just need a position. Well, the position was cornerback. So, little teaser, we're going to do the actual kind of corner, or one of the corners, I should say, that I have. And then I've got like a one that's kind of a tweener, one that's a little versatility. But we'll do that one after the mailbag. So, this one, no surprise. I think he's one of the more underrated cornerbacks in the NFL draft. It's Chris Johnson, the cornerback out of San Diego State.
Yeah, I like him. I think he could go as high as 2nd round now, it feels like.
So he didn't have the greatest Senior Bowl, which kind of caused his draft stock to slide a little bit. He's been, again, some people will have him 2nd, 3rd-ish round. To me, Harry, there's not a lot separating him from being a first-round caliber corner. He's got the playmaking instincts. You see the numbers on screen. This past year for San Diego State, 4 interceptions, 8 pass breakups. I think he's got one of the best. He's probably one of the best zone coverage corners in this entire draft. Like when he is playing with his eyes facing the quarterback, he is one of the best in the country. I think he tested really well at the combine. He had a really nice 40-yard dash at a 4.4, 38-inch vertical. Mirrors and matches the release with consistency. Like he's not somebody that if you ask him to flip his hips and chase guys on, crossing routes or whatever, he can do that. He's got really good footwork. He tracks the ball well, so if there's deep passes, he can do that. Again, he's not the best in terms of at the top of the route, in terms of always covering that, and can get a little too aggressive at times. It's part of the reason that you get a guy like this is so that he can kind of make big banking plays. But I think he is a little undersized at 185 pounds. To me, if you add a little bit of weight to him, he did measure in 193 at the combine for what it's worth. He is a guy that if you're looking for an outside cornerback and you're the Chicago Bears, you just don't love what Tyreek Stevenson could potentially offer you, I think he is a prime candidate to maybe be a future Pro Bowler one day.
Okay, I like that. Do you think he's sitting there at 89?
89, if teams just really, for whatever reason, don't like what they saw at the Senior Bowl, which we've seen guys fall because of those performances, maybe. But if the Bears maybe do a trade with one of their 2nd-round picks, trade back into the 3rd, whatever the case may be, there's a world where I could see him maybe fall into the 3rd.
Okay.
Potentially. I do think he is a 2nd-round talent that could easily slide up into the 1st. I think he's just one of the more complete cornerbacks in terms of outside guys in this draft.
All right. I do think outside corner is a position that Bears fans need to prepare themselves that could come off the board early. I think they could. I don't think they'd be afraid to take the right guy at 25. Like, I doubt he gets there, but if Jermon McCoy's sitting there and they clear him medically, I think they would probably take him there. Could Colton Hood or Brandon Cisse be in that range? I wouldn't rule that out. So, and certainly day 2. I think adding a corner is very much a possibility. So, we'll see. I like that one. Double dose of Cullen draft crushes to come. We got one more after this mailbag, so hashtag Bears or Super Chat. By the way, have you seen like there seems to be an influx of Carnell Tate's going to go really high buzz today. So Daniel Jeremiah hopped on Mina Kimes' show, said he could go as high as 2 to the Jets. Matt Miller just said his over-under should be 6.5 in terms of where he's going to go. So
Browns are rumored
basically saying the Browns are probably not going to pass on him. And then someone else said that the more he's hearing, the more he thinks he's going top 5. I can't remember who the other one was, but there's like 3 different draft analysts that have come out today. Like, that tells me that the draft, like the top draft guys, got a leak over the weekend. Like, it's been leaked that Carnell Tate's going to go really high.
I've been a pretty big Carnell Tate guy this entire draft process. I did switch my wide receiver 1 to Mekhi Lemon. Tate, to me, has got a legitimate role in the National Football League. Now, as high as 2 to the Jets, that would be a little rich.
That's asinine.
That would be a little rich. But in terms of being the number 1 receiver off the board, that is certainly in play. Do the Cleveland Browns potentially take him at number 6? If they really like him, they need a weapon, potentially that, and offensive tackle in the first round. So I certainly could see him going 6th overall. I was actually talking to our draft analyst here at Chat Sports, Shaq Sperry. He actually has Carnell Tate as his wide receiver 1 in this upcoming draft. So it'll be very interesting to see where Tate, Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver out of Arizona State, who's actually doing the opposite. His stock seems to be dropping.
Yeah.
And Mekhi Lemon, where their careers are at in 5 years' time. But, yeah, Carnell Tate. There's something about him.
He's 8 on the consensus board. Clear wide receiver 1. Lemon's 13. Tyson's still 14. But, yeah, it feels like Tate, like, for you gamblers out there, like, first receiver to be drafted, like,
it's looking good.
Yeah, even if it's at, like, minus 250 to minus 300, I think the value's there for Tate. Because I like Lemon a lot, but, like, I don't know if he can beat press on the outside consistently. So, like, if he truly is slot only, even though the slot position has become so valuable in the NFL, like JSN, for example, was able to move outside and be awesome. Like, if you're worried about Lemon doing that, like, can your wide receiver 1 be slot only? Like, that's
depending on the system. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it. I just understand, and this is coming from someone like I like Carnell Tate. I don't love him. I understand why you would take Tate over that, though.
Sure.
Like, even if he's mostly just outside and probably seldom used in the slot, you can play him at the X. You can play him at the Z.
A lot of reason to like him.
You know, yeah, he's great contested catch guy.
Moves better than you think for somebody his size.
Yeah.
Like I think
probably a little safer.
Sure. Higher floor and all that. I think he is a guy that he eats up ground quicker than you think he does. I'm not saying he has blazing speed. He ran like a 4.5 at the NFL Combine.
Pretty smooth mover, though. Like, his strides are smooth. Like,
he's a smooth operator, man.
Yeah. I like and look, I'm a grade the player, not the helmet guy. Those Ohio State guys work pretty well. Like, even like everyone's down on Marvin Harrison. It's not like he stinks. No. He's just not worth where he's gone up to this point.
Would you say
if he was the 20th pick, people would be like, okay, like, he hasn't been great, but like, he's still giving you 800 yards a year. Like, it's not like he sucks.
Out of the last 5 or 6 seasons, would you say he's probably – and again, it's shortened his career. It's like him and Olave have been the lowest in terms of Ohio State receivers that have been –
Olave was great last year.
Yeah, exactly.
You get him stable QB play. And that could be true with Marvin. Like, if Arizona can get stable QB play, and I know Brissett was solid, but, like, if they can get, like, a real franchise quarterback, I still think he's got tools to be a good pro.
Right.
But, like, if that's the low end, like, you're getting, like, an 800-yard guy. Like, I think Carnell Tate, if you ask me, is he at least a good wide receiver 2 in the NFL? I'd say probably yes. Like, I just don't know if he's ever, like, that high-end 1, which is why with this report is, like, do I want to take a guy in the top 5? Like, honestly, I wouldn't take any of these receivers in the top 6. Like, the Saints at 8 are probably the first spot. I would take a receiver. Like, even Cleveland at 6. Like, I get you need a receiver. You also need a lot of other stuff. Like, I would
take a tackle.
I would either go tackle or trade down before forcing receiver. Like, I'm not going to hate the Carnell Tate pick there, but I just think there's better value with other guys. But
the Tyson stuff scares me.
I wouldn't take Tyson that early either. He's too risky. I love Tyson. Like, he's been to me, when he's healthy, he's the best receiver in this draft, but he's hurt a lot. So, you know, you probably have to wait till the mid-teens to pull the trigger there. So, we'll see what happens. All right, hashtag Bears Super Chat. We'll get to your questions. We'll get to Cullen's second draft crush, and then we'll end the show with a little Dexter Lawrence talk. So stay tuned. Plenty to come here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham. It is time for a Chicago Bears Now mailbag. We'll start with King Poles. He says, should the Bears make a big trade or keep building through the draft? Obviously, people are jumping on the Dexter Lawrence stuff. We're doing a video on it. We already have if you're watching this mailbag later in the week, so subscribe and check it out. And, it's kind of been the big question all offseason. Like, do you go all in on Max Crosby? Do you give the Browns a call about Myles Garrett? Do you get in on Dexter Lawrence here? And it's always tough. It always comes down to value. Like, how much are you giving up? Do you believe Dexter Lawrence is the missing piece to get you over the top? How much of a multiplier is he? Does he make Montez Sweat better? Does he make Austin Booker better? Does he make Gervon Dexter and or Grady Jarrett a lot better? Like, those are all questions you have to ask. Is it how much? Is it a first and a day 2 pick? Is it just a 1? These are all things you got to figure out. So you got to set a value point, figure out the contract stuff, and then make a decision. But if you told me you could get a guy like Dexter Lawrence or someone of that ilk for less than 2 1s, I'd be open to it. I probably wouldn't do a 1 and a 2 for Lawrence specifically, but that was kind of where I drew the line with Crosby. I'm not doing 2 1s. If I can get him for less than that, I'm in. So it's kind of a long-winded way of saying if the value is right, I would take the swing, but I'm not just willy-nilly and Madden GM in this thing where, like, yeah, here's 2 1s for Dexter Lawrence. Like, I'm not doing that. So I'll let you guys answer for me. Would you make the big trade if it was reasonable, or would you just stay patient and build through the draft? Type Y for yes, type in for no. Let me know in the comments. Isaiah Bluebaugh, is Epinesa still free to get? Yeah, A.J. Epinesa signed with the Browns, but he either failed his physical or something popped up in his physical that they didn't like, so they revoked that contract, so he is out there. There is some DA prototype to him. He's a bigger, lankier, physical edge rusher, but he's also at best, I would say he's probably your third edge. Like, I think Booker has surpassed him as a player in the NFL. Maybe Epinesa is slightly better against the run, but Booker's a much better pass rusher. But sure, like if after the draft, if edge doesn't fall in your favor in the draft and you need just a decent depth piece who's been solid in Buffalo, like, yeah, come in, be edge 3, edge 4, and, compete for a role. All right, LaCora, Bears receive Dexter Lawrence and a 5th-round pick. Giants get a 1st-round pick in Gervon Dexter or Grady Jarrett. Yeah, if you're watching live, I've got some trade ideas coming up, or if you're watching later in the week, we're filming this live Monday, then you've already seen my trade ideas. Why would the Giants take Grady Jarrett back? Like, they don't want a 32-year-old. Gervon Dexter, though, I think that's pretty interesting. Like, you throw some kind of pick trade with Dexter involved, I think that could make some sense. Get yourself a Bear Claw Selly shirt, chatsports.com/LB10. Available in black and navy. One of our cooler designs yet. Shout out to the design squad behind the scenes. Chatsports.com/LB10. Link is in the chat, description, comments. You know where to find it. Check it out. All right, Eric Green. How good of a season would Austin Booker have to have this year for the Bears to feel comfortable not to use high draft capital on an edge next year? Well, it's kind of a twofold question. Do you draft an edge high this year? Because you certainly could. But to me, it's making me think that you're not. Maybe you draft an edge like in the 3rd round or something this year, like a rotation guy. I don't know. Like, does he make a leap to be like an 8-sack guy? Like, he's a 15% pass rush win rate guy. Like, he's clear. Like, he's made a jump. Like, he's a real dude, and you're thinking, okay, he's a guy we want to extend. Like, yeah, I think that's the type of jump. Like, you go from, we like the player, he's a good piece, to, oh, we want to extend him. Like, if that light turns on, then and he improves as a run defender as well, then yeah, I think Booker could be a guy you keep long term. Is he ever a guy though where like he's your top edge rusher? I think there's still a pretty big gap there to sit here and say that. Will Edwards, McNeil Warren, Zion Young, Akeem Messidor available at 25. Who would you take? Who do you think the Bears would take? I think I would take Messidor. I think I would rank it Messidor, McNeil Warren, and then Young. I think the Bears would take, and I like all three, by the way. I've heard mixed things on the Bears' opinions on EMW behind the scenes. Can he cover well enough? I think he can, but he ran like a 4.52, so he's not the fastest guy, but I think he plays faster than that. I think they would take one of the edge rushers in that situation, would be my guess. I think if it's Thieneman, they're pulling the trigger. If it's McNeil, Warren, but Young and Messidor available, I don't know which one they would take. I think they would take one of those two, and it wouldn't shock me if it was Zion Young. He's the younger option, the better run defender than Messidor, although Messidor is really good against the run. I could see them going in that direction, but I'm not really sure. The leaks around the Bears this year have been pretty quiet, and part of that is because they're picking 25 instead of 9. It's easier to kind of figure out who teams like when they're picking higher because there's not many teams to go through before you pick. So that's just part of it. Subscribe to the channel. We got off-season coverage every single day. Turn on that notification bell as well. That way you never miss out on a brand new Bears Now episode. We're continuing to pump out content on the daily, so lock us in and subscribe. All right, Schefter, random thought, but would you draft T.J. Parker and deny Dennis Sutton? I'm open to drafting 2 edges, but I don't think the Bears will because I think Dio Adengbo and Shamar Turner are in the equation this year. And I don't think they view either of those guys as a full-time D-tack. Even if they rotate some inside, they're not going to play full-time defensive tackle, it doesn't sound like. So, I mean, if you draft 2 edges that you plan on making the team, you're going to have Montez Sweat, Austin Booker, both your draft picks, Dio Adengbo and Shamar Turner, and Daniel Hardy's on the team. Even if you view him special teams only, you're keeping 7 edge rushers in theory. I think they draft 1 edge. That now maybe they take a flyer on a guy late day 3 and whatever. That's different, but I don't think they're spending 2 premium picks on an edge unless a surprise trade pops up where one of the guys currently on the roster isn't on the team. Okay, Marcus, what do you guys think about Uwar Bernard from Nigeria and the other dude from Kenya? Maybe a late-round flyer on one of them. I was thinking about doing a video on these guys. I don't know, Cullen, if you've seen that flying around. It's pretty crazy. Now, to me, that's 7th round preferred UDFA, but if you want to beat, these are guys that teams will want to bring in as preferred UDFAs because they're just crazy athletes. I mean, the Nigerian guy, Bernard, I think Daniel Jeremiah, one of these draft scouts, are we've never seen an athletic profile like this. He's 6'4", 306, and he ran a 4.6. It's holy shit. Are you an edge rusher? Are you an offensive tackle? Look, these are developmental projects. They haven't played much, if any, football at all. I actually don't know, so I need to look into that more. But I don't know. If you're 6'4", 305, I'll spend the 241st pick on you if you can run a 4.6 and just see what happens. Maybe just sneak them onto your practice squad. So, yeah, I don't think you would take both, but one of them, sure, why not? Shout out your favorite Bears player currently on the team, and it can't be Caleb Williams. We're going to get a lot of Calebs in the chat. You can mention him, but be who's your next guy? Who's number 2? Who you're rocking with? Let me know in the comments below. All right, Noah, teams to trade up with, trade up targets. I keep saying this. I do want to do a video on this. I think the guys you would trade up for are does one of the edge rushers fall? Does Reuben Baines slide a bit because of his arm length? Now, that might be a moot point for the Bears because they value arm length, so I don't know if they would trade up for him, but I would consider it. Caleb Downs, if he gets past Dallas at 12, how long do you wait before you get on the phone and consider trading up for him? Is there anyone else? Would you trade up for Thieneman? Probably not a lot, but maybe if he gets past Minnesota at 18, you start thinking about it. If he gets to, because Dallas at 20, would you trade up to 19 to try to get him? Because the Cowboys at 20 make a lot of sense if he's still there. So those are a few names that I could see them doing it for, but I don't think Poles is going to do a massive trade on draft night. I don't think he's giving up a future first or anything like that. Okay, Alex, kind of worried about our wide receiver room. There's a chance we add one the first 3 picks. I'll round up to 4 picks because you have 2 seconds and a third in addition to your first-round pick. I'm okay with the room. I like the 1-2 punch. I mean, obviously they need to take steps. I like Khalif Raymond is a quality vet that knows the system. I think Jahdae Walker can play, but I'm with you. You need someone else in this room, whether it's a wide receiver 3 or at least a floor raiser from a depth standpoint. I think you need to add a guy. So I do think in the middle rounds, your 3rd or 4th round pick, taking a receiver makes sense Now, ideally, you've checked a couple other more necessity boxes first, like especially safety. But, in a perfect world, you check off edge and safety in 2 of your first 3 picks, and then, you can kind of continue to fill out like depth positions. But again, like you need to stick firm with BPA, especially in the value picks. Like that's how you build a good roster. That's how you land blue and red chip players. Is you don't force the issue. But if the board falls in your favor and it plays out that way, then yeah, that is the ideal outcome. But yeah, keep an eye on receiver. I think third round especially is definitely an option. If the right guy's there in the second round, I wouldn't dismiss that either. Okay, give me a follow at HGram NFL, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Publishing content over there on a daily basis. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/HGramNFL. Appreciate the love and support. You can also find me within the Facebook app by just searching Harrison Graham Chat Sports. I am right there. Also subscribe. We'll see you soon. All right, Cullen's 15th draft crush, second of the day since he was out last week. We got VJ Payne. I'll be honest, Cullen, this feels like a deep pool because even as a Big 12 guy, I'm not very familiar with the Kansas State Wildcat.
He's somebody that is shocker, another safety that's played multiple positions during his collegiate career, I should say. Played high safety, played in the box, played in the nickel, but he kind of profiles Harry, kind of similar to Treydon Stukes. You see the numbers on screen: 6'3", 208 pounds. Had a pretty decent athletic testing, ran a 4.4, 40-yard dash, 35-inch vertical. He's somebody, to me, he'd be kind of a project in terms of just having somebody in your secondary. And this would be somebody that I wouldn't project as like a starter per se, in terms of you're adding this guy mainly in terms of depth. And I would trust Dennis Allen's kind of coaching on the back end to try to develop him into whatever position that you feel like he would be the best. He offers size, length, and versatility, which are 3 things that I think Dennis Allen would covet in a secondary player. He's quick to diagnose, and he can close the distance in terms of, playing the pass and coverage. He flashes ability to drop the pass and drive through runners and receivers. Now, he isn't the greatest technique-wise in defending the run, so that's always been kind of an issue. He will, at times, doesn't have to play with the ideal urgency and toughness. Like, he's a little bit inconsistent in that regard. But to me, he is a guy. He also, by the way, really good at covering tight ends. He locked down Michael.
He's got the size profile there.
Yeah, so he could be kind of a specialist in that regard. To me, he's a project, day 3, but somebody that's really intriguing. The fact that he's played multiple positions. I wouldn't be shocked if a team views him and says, hey, why not take some reps potentially at outside corner? Like, he could even potentially, with his size, even go that way. So
yeah, I mean, that's something I said with Stukes. You bringing him up now, I think it's more likely teams view Stukes as a safety nickel hybrid. But like again, like you get into OTAs, it's like you get to the last session of practice. Hey, go take 10 reps at outside corner. Like both him and Payne have that they're built like ideal DA outside corners. Now, whether or not they can actually do the job, that's a different question. But again, you get a guy like this in your building, especially a day 3 pick where it's like, hey, we're not really expecting you to play much as a rookie. Like 20% of your reps, we're going to give them at outside corner. See if there's something there. So I don't hate that at all. I was just looking at his grades real quick. His grades took a nice uptick this year compared to last year. Like he was like in the 50s pretty much across the board last year, except for run defense was in the 60s, but jumped up to the 70s across the board in 2025. So got better year over year, which is always promising.
Yeah, I think he has some potential, but again, day 3, this wouldn't be somebody that you're expecting to start next to Kobe Bryant or anything.
Where like mid day 3, late day 3,
mid day 3,
like 5th round,
something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's depending on what they do. I mean, you could see the Bears take multiple secondary players this draft, which I think would make sense given the A, needed safety, B, the fact that Zay Frazier, we're not sure if he is going to be anything for this team. And I just think that he's a versatile player that if you give him the right coaching, he could become something really productive in this league. If nothing else, contribute on special teams and go from there. So, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm always in the camp, especially on day 3, is like, if nothing else, take good athletic profiles. Like they should, I'm looking at you, Ruben Hippolyte, at least be able to contribute on special teams. But, yeah, we'll see. All right, VJ Payne, Our latest Cullen draft
So
crush.
we're going to do another 2 on Thursday, but I need a new position.
Yeah, let's do quick math. So that'll get us to 17.
Yeah, we can run through, by the way.
And then we'll have 3 shows before the draft, so that'll get us right to 20.
Which were where we ended up last year.
Okay, I like that. And then
so these are all, I was going to say, we can just run through all the ones I've done so far.
Yeah, so, we'll just kind of sprint through these. Malachi Lawrence, Lee Hunter, Bryce Betcher, Kamari Ramsey, who I've seen, like, all kinds of opinions on recently, by the way.
It's very polarizing.
Cage Casey, Jamari Taylor, Kevin Coleman Jr., Davison Igbinosun, Logan Jones. We got Markel Bell. It's an inside joke. Charles Demings, Nate Borkacher, Chris Johnson. Did we skip somebody? Hang on a second.
Oh, Josh Cameron, excuse me. Yep. There we go.
Josh Cameron, and then Chris Johnson and VJ Payne. So we went corner, kind of DB hybrid today. So have we gone? How many linebackers have we done? We did Betcher. Is he the only one?
He's pretty much the only one.
Do we go back to linebacker maybe?
Maybe.
Let's go linebacker and
a couple linebackers.
And, that or linebacker and how many receivers have we done? Have we just done the
Cameron
Mizzou kid?
And Kevin
Oh,
Coleman.
we just did, Cameron, that's right.
Yeah.
What about tight ends?
Borkacher is pretty much the only one.
What if we go linebacker, tight end on Thursday?
Another tight end? See another, blocking tight end?
Yeah, like a day 3 guy.
Yeah.
Thoughts, chat?
We can do that. Or
Jake Golday is not – he's too good.
He's too good.
He's too good. Eric
I do like
tight
him,
end 3 options.
I do like him, though.
Does anyone actually know what happened to Zay Frazier last season? I don't think we have the official story. I've heard some stuff behind the scenes that I'm not going to share, but I have heard it's whatever it was is they feel confident it is in the past. So, Ryan Poles at the Combine put it well. Like, he's going to have to fight for a roster spot. Like, they're not just going to guarantee him on the 53. Caleb Elarm-Zor for TCU. That's a Harrison draft crush.
I can't steal Harry's guy like that. Can't steal it.
That's a Harrison draft crush. I will have a segment that I do, just kind of a My Guys segment. That'll drop either this week or next week probably. I'll have a Bears Now big board too in the next week or before the draft. So it's all coming. Okay, let's get to our final segment. The news of the day in the NFL is the Dexter Lawrence situation. Could the Bears trade for him? What's it going to cost? We'll see what happens. Hang on a second. Okay. All right, let's get to my final segment here on Bears Now. Has a new blockbuster trade target emerged for Bears general manager Ryan Poles? Of course, we are talking about Dexter Lawrence today as the Giants star defensive tackle requested a trade from New York on Monday. Let's kind of set the scene here, then we'll dive into this from a Bears angle. Adam Schefter had the report that he has requested a trade and that he will not be participating in the offseason program that begins Tuesday. Lawrence and the Giants have been through 2 offseasons attempting to negotiate a contract reflecting his value to the Giants over the last 3 years, but there has not been any progress per sources. Schefter adds Lawrence has 2 years remaining on his deal and is currently scheduled to make $20 million this upcoming season. Initially, there have been optimism with the changes in the organization. Discussions could move forward, but now that they haven't, new Giants head coach John Harbaugh will begin his team's offseason program Tuesday without one of his best players. Look, I think this is one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, and we're going to talk about it here. He didn't have his best year last year, but he was still really good compared to the rest of the league. My guy Marshall Green, who hosts our Giants show, I think tweeted out he was 6th in pressures and in pass rush grade among defensive tackles per PFF, and everybody's like, he's washed. Yeah, I don't think he's washed. Now, I think the question is last season, even ignoring the sacks, like if he just got a little unlucky not getting home a couple times, can he get back to like the consistently dominant force that he had been prior to 2025, or is this more of what he is moving forward? A good but not a special player. I think that is the question you have. Now, He's only 28. He'll be 29 later this year. I still think there's plenty in the tank overall. The run defensive grade, I think he played better than that this past year. He started really poor. The Giants season fell apart. So it's just kind of like, it's just one of those where it's like he's had enough with a franchise and he just wants a fresh start. He's tired of losing. Like, I still think this is one of the better defensive linemen in the NFL personally. But I do think you have to account, especially when you're talking trade value, that he is coming off a year in which he was not his best self. Now, Connor Hughes, who SMY local Jets and Giants guy, said that Dexter Lawrence had an absurd run as an interior pass rusher from 2022 to 2024 with 21 sacks. He hasn't had a full sack in his last 22 games. So again, it's like, is that an outlier? Is that enough data to be like he's just not that premium sack getter moving forward? You know, are we overvaluing sacks? Probably, especially on the interior. A lot of the job for these defensive tackles is just like, basically, you're making the play and someone cleans it up, and he certainly does a lot of that, which is why when he was registering a bunch of sacks, really impressive number to Connor Hughes' point. I don't think he's only going to be a half a sack guy moving forward, but is he flirting with double digits consistently? Probably not. You're probably somewhere in the middle, but is the pressure rate high? Is he stuffing the run consistently like he has for the majority of his career? Those are more the things you'd be looking for. Is he a multiplier? Do guys around him elevate because he takes so much attention? If you think those answers are yes, then he's more than worthwhile trading for if you are the Chicago Bears. Bobby Skinner also had a note, kind of on the opposite side of the Connor Hughes note of he was 7th among 121 defensive tackles in pass rush win rate in 2025, his terrible down year. So kind of outlining the point, like, yeah, he had a down year for his standards compared to the 3 years prior, but he's still really freaking good. This is still one of the best interior defensive linemen in the National Football League. We're going to continue to talk about this, especially from a Bears standpoint here in a moment. But guys, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 162,000 subscribers by the draft. If the Bears make a big trade, we're going to be going live. That much I can promise you. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. Let's get those numbers up. We greatly appreciate the love and support. So what is Big Sexy Dexy's trade value? What is Dexter Lawrence commanding in a trade right now? There's differing opinions on that. Jordan Renan, who I think is the best Giants beat reporter out there, ESPN Giants guy, said, asked around the league, and the general consensus appears to be that if the Giants were willing to trade Dexter Lawrence, the return would be in the range of a late first-round pick to a second-rounder. I hear that, and I say, sign me up. 25th pick, done, cool, signed, sealed, delivered. I would trade the 25th pick for Dexter Lawrence straight up, even if I am slightly concerned that his peak days are behind him. If he's 85 to 90% of his peak for the next, at least 2 years, if not 3 or 4, I'll trade the 25th pick in a not crazy strong draft for that level of player. Now, Ryan Dunleavy, who's New York Post, who's covered the Giants for a while, tweeted this. He says, there's an obvious recent comp for a Giants Dexter Lawrence trade. The Cowboys traded a first and a second-round pick and Mozzie Smith, who's really just a throw-in, not a good player, for Quinnen Williams. Is Dex worth that? First reply from a league source, quote, he's better, so yeah. Dunleavy added this. My second reply to that text he sent out to people, he's worth a late 2026 first-round pick, which where the Bears fall in, 25th pick, and a day 2 pick in 2027. So you're talking about, like from a Bears standpoint, 25th pick and let's call it a third-round pick next year. Pretty penny, right? I mean, that's kind of in the ballpark of what I was wanting to offer the Raiders for Max Crosby. Different positions provide slightly different things, but, when right, one of the premier defensive linemen in the NFL. Now, to me, that's a pretty big gap between those two reports. Jordan Renan, from some people, sounds like it may not even be a first-round pick, and if it is, it's a late first-round pick, and that's it. Dunleavy's saying it could be a first and a second-round pick and a player, like the Quinnen Williams trade, or at least a first-round pick and a future day 2 pick. Is it somewhere in the middle? Is it like a late first plus like an early day 3 pick? Is it something like that? So, or like a decent player? So we'll have a few trade ideas that I work through here in a second, but it's hard to tell because one thing I will say is even though he's coming off a down year, This has been a strong seller's market. Did any of us think the Bears would get a second-round pick for DJ Moore? I did not. I thought it would be like a fourth. I know you shipped out a fifth, so it probably adds up to a third, but still, that is on the high end of what I thought the Bears would get. Max Crosby went for 2 firsts before the Ravens balked, and that first pick was 14 overall. Like that, this has been a strong seller's market, so I do think the Giants would get a pretty decent offer for Dexter Lawrence. How much would you give up for Dexter Lawrence? Best trade offers in the comments right now. Fire away and let me know what you would send. All right, get yourself a Bear Claw Selly shirt right now. Chatsports.com/LB10. Sometimes you got to suck the life out of your opponent. That's what the Bears were able to do to the Packers down the stretch twice last year. LB10, a big part of that. We all remember the play, the moment, the Selly. Chatsports.com/LB10. Link is in the comments and description of this video. Click and shop today. Get yourself a new shirt available in black and navy. Okay, before we get to some trade ideas, let's talk money. So what does his current contract look like? What does it look like if a team trades for him? What could a potential extension look like? Because remember, that's part of the report from Schefter is that they have not gone anywhere in terms of a potential pay raise in New York. Spotrac had a couple of good notes here. They put out there that the new team acquires $20 million for this upcoming year. That's also his cap hit, by the way, for 2026 for any team that trades for him. So if you trade for him and don't touch the contract, that's his cap hit. Again, you're probably going to do some kind of extension or new deal, so that would probably change. But keep that in mind, $20 million cap hit, so the Bears would have to move a decent amount of money around. 2027, $19.5 million, which not much at all, which, again, is why he wants a new deal. The Giants' dead cap, if they traded him, those are pre-June 1 numbers. They would save $13 million and eat just under $14. So about half of the money they would eat, and then he'd be off their books in 2026 or 2027. Spotrac also added, assuming an extension is involved, which, again, per the Schefter report, Dexter and their model is a 3-year, $82 million contract per Spotrac. So if the model is in the ballpark, you're talking about $27 million per year. That would make him the second highest paid defensive tackle. And to me, that checks out. Even if a couple of these guys you think are better than Dexter Lawrence, to me, I'm not resetting the market with him. Chris Jones' contract is an outlier at almost $32 million per year. Like, I'm not giving Dexter that now, unless the guaranteed money is, lower than expected. Okay, like maybe that's the compromise. But I think in that $26 to $28, $29 million per year, 3-year deal with 2 guaranteed on an extension, that's probably what you're looking at. And kind of like what we've talked about with these other deals, he has 2 years left in his deal, so you could space out those cap hits. You could make that really work and obviously lower his 2026 hit, which you'd want to do because the Bears don't currently really have any cap space. You're already going to have to move some money around with your current roster. A couple of restructures would likely happen. But if you extend him and lower the cap hit that way, that certainly helps as well. Listen, it's going to be a notable pay raise. Like, it's probably going to be closer to $30 million per year than it is $25. At best, it's somewhere right in the middle, 27, 28. So, are you prepared for that? Are you willing to do that? I think I would if the guaranteed money was reasonable, and perhaps most importantly, the trade isn't crazy. So, 3 trade ideas. Dexter Lawrence to the Bears for the 25th pick and Gervon Dexter. Is that enough? I don't know. To me, Dexter's worth, in a vacuum, is he worth a 4th-round pick? Maybe a 3rd for a team desperate for an interior pass rusher. He does have 11 sacks the past 2 years. That's not nothing for an interior defensive lineman. Now, unlike Dexter Lawrence, he does not defend the run that well, but there's not many interior defensive linemen that can give you 5 sacks a year growing on trees. There aren't. So, 1st-round pick, middle-round pick for Dexter Lawrence, that's a pretty good offer. Giants get a young replacement for Lawrence. If he plays well, they could extend him, all that stuff. And obviously from a Bears standpoint, if you bring in Lawrence, that makes Dexter expendable. You're probably not also turning around and paying him notable money for next year. So why not just include him in the trade to save another potential premium pick? Okay, trade idea number 2, Dexter Lawrence to the Bears for just 1st-round pick this year, 2nd-round pick next year. Get back to that Dunleavy model of late 1st-rounder and a day 2 pick next year. This is probably right on the high end of what I'd be willing to offer, but I think that could be a possibility as well. And then my final one here, and these are more just ideas, not like specifically what I would for sure do. Dexter Lawrence, you also get the 37th pick back. The Giants get 25, 57, and 60. So you give them your first. You move up 20 spots from your first second-round pick, and you also give them 60. So, again, you add that up, it's basically a first and a third for Dexter Lawrence. It's kind of like trade idea number 2, but you're not giving up a future pick, and you're kind of just maneuvering around in the second round. You're giving them 57 and 60 for 37, and you're giving them 25 as well. So, you add all that up, kind of makes sense, kind of in the ballpark of what's being reported. Now, look, we could all be way off. All these reports could be off. Hell, do they want the Max Crosby deal, 2 first-round picks? I think from a Giants perspective, it's really interesting because, this is the first big John Harbaugh moment, right? Everything's been, fine and dandy in New York. You get your guy in John Harbaugh. Well, now arguably your best player wants out or wants a big contract. So what are you going to do? That's why you hired John Harbaugh, right, to make these big boy decisions. So going to be very interesting. If I'm the Giants, I want to trade him before the draft to get an asset in this draft. Even if part of the trade is a pick next year, I would imagine they want a piece this year to help their team in 2026. It's year 2 of Jackson Dart. Like the Bears last year, you're not trying to waste years on your rookie quarterback contract. So I think if he gets traded, it probably happens in the next couple of weeks. Should the Bears trade for Dexter Lawrence if, those trades I threw out there are in the ballpark of what it's going to cost? Type Y for yes or type in for no. Go ahead and let me know. My name is Harrison Graham. Hit that subscribe button here on Chicago Bears Now. We will continue to pump out content here on a daily basis. Turn on those notifications as well. Bear down. All right.
Chat's stayed pretty consistent, still at 67% that they would or the Bears should trade for Dexter Lawrence.
Someone says a second and an ambitious Dio. The guy is washed up. Sorry. Not washed up. Not washed up. I'm not really a construction king, but I kind of root for them a little bit from afar, the Cubs. But I can't say I'd claim them from a fandom standpoint, but I'd like to see the Cubbies do well. Slow start to the year, unfortunately. How are your Mariners doing, by the way?
A little slow start as per usual. They usually start slow and then they pick it up towards the end. So
it's this is why I saw Portnoy is I've seen is watching all 162 this year, which I'm like, how does a guy like that have time to watch all 162? And I'm just like, there's just no world where I could watch all 162. No way. No way.
Locked in for every pitch, that would be stretching it. But having it on in the background just
every game.
Now, granted, football precedes that. If you got a designated kind of
I'm saying 2 months of the year is football season.
Exactly.
Or at least a month and a half or so.
But yeah. Construction King, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
It wouldn't be me, but I'll give it a 30% chance that happens, a Cubs channel, which is a lot higher than I would have said a year ago. So you never know. All right, we are going to sign off here on Chicago Bears Now. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll get this last super chat in there.
We'll get it.
Homero sneaking one in.
Hey, guys, just joining. What would you give for Dexter?
Well, if you scroll back about 4 minutes.
We can show him real quick. We can do him the favor.
Yeah.
He's sending in his hard-earned money. We can show the
Yeah, we got you. I'm kidding. We got 3 trade ideas kind of based on the reports out there. Excuse me. Jesus. And what I think it could cost based on what's been reported. I put 25th pick in Gervon Dexter. The second idea was just a first and a third next year. There was a report that a late first plus a day 2 pick next year could get it done. And then the last one, kind of a trickier one, but you give them 25. You move up from 57 to 37, but you also give them 60. So, it kind of adds up to similar to trade idea number 2 and overall value. But, yeah, those are a few ideas based on the reporting. Reports could be off. This has been a really strong seller's market. Could cost more than what's been reported. But, yeah, I think I'd give up 25 plus a little bit more. That's, it's similar to Crosby. I'm not going 2-1s. I probably wouldn't do a first and a second straight up. if I'm trading a first and a second, like I'd like at least like a day 3 pick back. Maybe give me a 5th back at least. Don't have a 5th right now, so it gives you something on day 3. But yeah, there you go. Appreciate the $5 super chat. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to Cullen. He was back on his A game. 2 draft crushes. We'll have 2 more on Thursday, so stay tuned for that. We got plenty to come. Cubs just signed off. 6-4 loss. Brutal, Jason. Yeah, they gotta get it going. All right, we will see you guys live Thursday unless they trade for Dexter Lawrence. Then we'll be live within an hour of that happening. But plenty of content between now and then as well. Draft is getting closer to being here, so we got a lot of content to get out to you guys. So stay tuned, subscribe. See you guys tomorrow.